it's Rachel from the Positive Teacher Company, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a brand new product, our Subject Leader Journal. The Subject Leader Journal has been designed to suit subject leaders, heads of sub-department, heads of year group leaders, SLT members and middle leaders. Our Subject Leader Journal is softback, so it's not another bulky book to keep in your bag. It's spiral bound like our diaries and our planners, and it's available in one neutral design so it covers all tastes. We've split the Subject Leader Journal into 6 sections, covering each term of the year. The first page of our Subject Leader Journal is a contents page, which is really handy for being able to see what's happening across the whole year and what needs to be done every single term. At the beginning of the Subject Leader Journal, we have 12 calendar spreads. These are completely undated, so you can use them in any academic year or at any point in the academic year. Now, I'm going to be talking to you about the Subject Leader Journal from the point of view of a subject leader, but remember, if you have a different role in school, such as a head of department, that these pages are completely flexible to your role. So we start off with our long-term action plan. This is where your big goals for the year are going to be set. And later on in the journal, we're going to split those into our short-term action plans so we can make small steps towards reaching those goals. So our long-term action plan is split into intent, implementation, impact, timescale, budget, staffing, resources and an evaluation. There is guidance underneath each heading to give you a little bit of a prompt as to what to put into the columns. And there's also a space to link each action to your school improvement plan. We then move into the subject showcase pages. This is the beginning of the journal so that throughout the year you can put photos, quotes from children, examples of work to really show how your subject and the presence of your subject has progressed throughout the school year. We then move into a section for each term of the year. So there are 6 sections which all have exactly the same pages within them because you'll go through the same routines every single term when you're leading your subject. At the start of every half term, there's a subject leader to-do list. This is a really handy space for planning out your actions or things that you need to be doing during your subject leadership time. We then move into our short-term action plan. This is where we would take 1 or 2 goals from our long-term action plan and split them into smaller steps. So for example, if I was an English lead in a primary school and my long-term action plan had a goal of improving vocabulary in Key Stage 2, I would want to take that goal and split it into a more manageable sequence of actions. I might start by firstly evaluating what the vocabulary use is like in Key Stage 2. I might need to organise training for staff around vocabulary, speaking and listening skills. I might need to attend training myself. By splitting it into much smaller actions, it's much more manageable and easier to monitor the impact. We then move into a learning walk log. At the top of the learning walk, we've got a space to record 3 focus areas that you would like to focus on when you're doing your learning walk. So for example, if again I was an English lead wanting to improve vocabulary, my 3 focus areas might be around what vocabulary I want to be hearing teachers using, vocabulary I want to hear children using, and vocabulary that is available on displays. I then can put down exactly what I want to see in those 3 areas so I can really focus my observations when I'm walking around school. Then there's space to record your observations. So you've got a space for the location, what you have seen, what was going well, and what could be developed. And then also space for additional notes. We then move on to the subject leader monitoring pages. Again, you've got the 3 focus areas that you want to be looking at, as well as an ideal of what you want to be seeing when you're looking at those focus areas. There's then space to record what the work sample was, the year group that you got it from, what's going well within that work sample and what could be developed, as well as space for additional notes. We then have space for a pupil voice record. This is where you can record conversations with groups of children when you want to gain their perspective on the subject in your school. There's space within these records for your discussion focus, the pupils that were in that group, what's working well according to those pupils, and what would be even better if. Towards the end of every half term, we've got an evaluation and forward planning page. I've started this off by posing some reflective questions for you to think about as a leader. It then goes into assessment data, what the successes of that data have been and what questions are being raised by it. There's then space to evaluate the actions that you had in your short-term action plan, as well as space underneath to think about what the impact has been on the long-term action plan from you achieving or not achieving those actions, and what the impact is on the school improvement plan. Every half term then ends with a space for big ideas, a mind mapping page where you can plan out what you want to achieve in the next half term. Each half term then follows the same sequence for all 6 half terms until we get to the last section of organisational tools. The organisational tools section starts off with lots of pages to record ideas and notes from meetings with your cluster or other colleagues. As a subject leader, it's really important to network with other colleagues in different schools. They might have gone through the same challenges as you, come up with some really great ideas, and it'll be excellent to be able to get in contact with them. So we've included some contacts pages so you can record email addresses and schools of those colleagues that you meet on cluster meetings and training courses. We've also included some moderation pages for when you have moderation within your cluster or in your school. There's space for the date, the moderation team involved, what the purpose of the moderation is, the work sample details, any notes that you've made on the work sample, what the discussions were, and then what the moderation agreement was at the end. This then moves into the long-term overview where you can record what's happening with your subject across a variety of classes and year groups. This is then followed by a useful resources page, so you can record what the resource is for your subject, what type of resource it is, where it's located, and what it might be useful for. We then have space to record your professional development that you've attended. You can record where the training was, what date it was on, the key points that were made, and what the impact was of that training. This is then followed by some CPD records of CPT that you've presented rather than attended. We've also included some notes pages if you wanted to make any notes during your CPD or any meetings that you have. We've also included some record pages at the back of the subject leader journal. These are really handy for checklists or recording assessment data on. And that's our brand new TPTC subject leader journal, and I'd really like to thank the subject leaders, the SLT members, head teachers who all had such a big impact on the design of the brand new journal.